Thank you, Colonel Bob Cabana, for that great introduction and for your leadership and great words. And Mark Geyer, thank you to you as well. I will tell you this isn't about necessarily the Johnson Space Center versus the Kennedy Space Center. I will tell you this, it doesn't matter where you are. If you're not in Washington, D.C., it's a better place to be. So I'm thrilled to be here. I think somebody might have leaned against a light switch somewhere. There we go. Fantastic. All right, so here's the thing, and I saw a lot of hands go up when people said they've never seen a launch before. What that means is maybe there's some people in the room that aren't fully aware about what is going to happen tonight and the transformational change this is for the American space program. What we're going to see tonight is not just, as Bob correctly identified, American rockets launching from American soil, eventually with American astronauts. Tonight's test is a critical piece of that eventuality, and we want to get that done in 2019. But something else is happening tonight too. Instead of NASA purchasing, owning, and operating hardware, in this particular case, we are partnering with commercial industry. We are going to be one customer of many customers in a robust commercial marketplace for human spaceflight in low Earth orbit. And that's going to really start tonight. That's an amazing transformation for our spaceflight program. But we don't just want to be one customer of many customers, which drives down cost and increases access for all of humanity. But we also want to have multiple providers that are competing on cost and innovation, which is how we get to places like we are today, where we can actually launch rockets, eventually with humans on board, and then bring them back and use them again. Driving down cost is because we have people competing on innovation, which is another great thing. Now I'm going to anchor for 1 second on a much bigger architecture when we think about the entire NASA family. We've got 10 centers across the United States of America. We've got commercial partners and we have international partners. And what we're doing now under the President's Space Policy Directive 1 is we are going back to the moon. And this time, his words in Space Policy Directive 1, we are going to go sustainably. In other words, we're not going to do Apollo again. We're not going to leave flags and footprints and not go back for another 50 years. But we're going to go back and we're going to have opportunities to go back and forth to the moon over and over again with a sustainable lunar architecture. Reusability is a key piece of that. And tonight with SpaceX, we're going to see a lot of that activity. But not just reusability. We're going to need more partners, international partners. We're building a coalition of nations to go back to the moon, this time to stay. When I say stay, I'm not talking about building a city on the moon, at least not quite yet. But we're going to have landers and rovers and robots and humans on the surface of the moon, and we're going to get to more parts of the moon than we've ever been able to get to before. And we're going to take advantage, and this is a critical piece in the President's Space Policy Directive, we're going to utilize the resources of the moon. The hundreds of millions of tons of water ice that we now know exist at the poles of the moon. Water ice is air to breathe. It's water to drink. But it's also rocket fuel. Hydrogen and oxygen, the same rocket fuel that powered the space shuttles, the same rocket fuel that will power the Space Launch System, the largest rocket that's ever been built in American history. So when we think about this architecture, we're going to utilize the resources of the moon. We're going to have international partners at a much bigger level, and we're going to have commercial partners in ways that we've never had before in the United States of America. And here's the key to all of this. The moon is the proving ground. We're going to retire risk. We're going to prove technology. And we're going to replicate as much of it as possible for our eventual human mission to Mars. That is beginning tonight with this launch of Crew Dragon. So with that, I'm going to turn it over. Should I turn it back over to you, Bob? Or? All right, we'll turn it over to the Masters. Thank you. It's great to be here. It's a great night.